Welcome. For opening today's session, I would like to ask, have you ever had thoughts or ideas that you believed could bring great change, yet others will call it ridiculous? Or maybe perhaps it was yourself who suppressed them by calling them childish. Is it that you have a negative image of what we call daydreaming as well? Today we will talk about the higher faculty of imagination and the infinite potential energy and its power that all of your ideas possess, how to use it and harness it. And as well, we will discuss regarding daydreaming, how to use it as a productive tool. But first, we will talk about and define what exactly imagination is as a higher faculty. Imagination is one of the higher faculties that we possess, which we have the freedom to choose to use in both negative and positive orientations or ways, we could say. When our focus is that of a negative orientation, the use of our imagination will be of a nature which is ruminating, and destructive. Rumination, for those who are not well acquainted to this term, means when you go over and over and over through scenarios in your head, especially when it comes to traumas. What we're focusing about, linking this concept to the negative orientation, is that you use your higher faculty of imagination to create these scenarios, and it at times creates feelings of frustration and not good well-being. Whereas the positive use or orientation of the faculty of imagination leads to what it was originally intended for, as a survival tool. This is to be used as a problem solver, a troubleshooter, if you may, and its nature is creative. As a human species, we have relied on the use of our higher faculty of imagination for survival, to solve all kinds of problems through imagining scenarios, or through the creation of tools by thinking on how combining certain objects could develop more efficient ways of dealing with problems through life. And this is to use one of our gifts as humans, that is to create. If you think about rumination, it still shares the same nature of problem solving. It is the conflict between the negative and positive use. When you ruminate, you're trying to think of ways you could have solved the problem, yet the orientation is negative, which will lead to negative results. and it has a destructive nature as well, just as discussed. The opposite will be truth, or true rather, when we use it as a problem solver and we create. Later on we will delve more about these two concepts as they relate deeply into what we call good and evil, but more specifically, that which fulfills the purpose of any goal or idea that has a generous and kind nature. For this video, I would like to introduce to you a person that through a simple discovery, he has revolutionized human space exploration. His name was Dr. Thomas Johann Seebeck. A German that lived 200 years ago, and he received one idea that has led to the use of the highest forms of technological advancement for space exploration. Now we will discuss briefly what the idea or discovery of Dr. Seebeck was, and please know that we will not be talking about the idea per se or focusing on how it works. The focus that I will ask you to put on is on how the idea changed the world. The concept is simple. Dr. Seebeck discovered that by applying heat and cold to two different types of metals that are connected, a flow of electrons would occur, creating a magnetic field as well. This could be as simple as having a candle lit by this extreme of these two pieces of metal or cables, and on the other side, cold water or ice. And thus, a current of electricity will occur. And this is what led to the discovery, or rather what we call nowadays the Seebeck effect. And this is the main principle of thermoelectric generators. And these ones are used for the most advanced type of missions that we have sent for human space exploration in the form of rovers and deep space probes, such as the famous Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, which both have left the known solar system in which we live and carry messages, or a disk, we can say, with information that is meant for other forms of intelligent life to decode and learn everything about humankind. All thanks to these thermoelectric generators that were produced by the Seebeck effect, thanks to the discovery of Dr. Seebeck 200 years ago. I would like you to think about this for a moment. This came in the form of one idea, one desire, one purpose. That Dr. Seebeck chased relentlessly. And he was most likely not aware that this discovery would lead to such a huge advancement in human space exploration. Think about how he would have reacted if someone told him that his discovery is potentially allowing us to make contact with another intelligent life civilization, if they happen to find this before we develop means of direct communication with them. Now we will discuss about how ideas contain infinite potential energy. And for this I would like to introduce to you to an equation that you may already be familiarized from school. And this is the equation of energy conservation, which tells us that the energy of a system is that of the potential energy plus the kinetic energy. Potential energy means, as the name suggests, that which is potential. In this case, this marker is standing still in my hand, but it has potential that if it was removed from my hand and it falls, this is transformed into movement, all of this energy that's contained there. That is kinetic energy when there's movement instead. I like to describe that this reception of ideas come from the known energy that exists around us, what we call infinite intelligence. Infinite intelligence, for those who are not acquainted with, are the ideas that exist around us in the form of energy or a frequency in which we may align and receive this information. And all of these ideas contain information, resources, tools, and everything you may need for their realization. They only seek one vessel that may fulfill the idea into its ultimate result throughout space and time. We will go into more detail of this later on. These ideas, when they are conceived, they have infinite potential energy. These are your ideas. And for the most part, we tend to receive ideas with great potential energy. This is when you have a hunch, when you think of something that showed up in your eyes and you believe this idea could make a great change in the world, only if it was to be executed. And execution is kinetic energy. This is action. Execution. Kinetic energy, action or execution is seldom practiced. And some people are sensitive to receive these ideas, but also at most times, these are seldom realized by people when they choose to suppress infinite intelligence, or when they do not know how to use their sixth sense, or rather simply when they have a poor use or development of their higher faculty of imagination. Dr. Seebeck is a prime example of what the full equation is when it comes to a realization. He received an idea through infinite intelligence and through the use of positive imagination. He solved problems as he was trying to further develop the research of another scientist with the name of Hans Christian Ørsted. And this led to the creation of a new idea that served many purposes, and this is just one purpose that already serves such a gigantic purpose, solution to a great problem in life as a species, to expand throughout space and to know the world that surrounds us. This may still have many more uses, and that's why we say that this potential energy is infinite, because this is just but one example of its use. And Dr. Seebeck had the potential energy, but he turned it into action by developing the idea. He did not keep this on his mind. He decided to experiment, to use his imagination to see what kind of possibilities there could be to make this come into fruition. Something that we must disclose regarding the faculty of imagination is that it's divided in two categories, and this is creative imagination and synthetic imagination. Creative imagination is everything that is created out of a whole new concept or idea. And synthetic imagination is the combination of existing ideas, tools perhaps, into the realization of something that serves a new purpose or in a more efficient way. The Seebeck effect and its discovery, it's a combination of both creative and synthetic, because it was synthetic by the follow-up of the discoveries or research of Hans Christian Ørsted. Yet, through the use of his creative imagination on his unique experiments, Dr. Seebeck realized or discovered a new Hall effect, which led for different uses. Another good example of synthetic imagination is that of Mr. Henry Ford. By creating the automobile, he combined the engine with the buggy to create something that could move the buggy without the horse. And another combination could be that of the Wright brothers creating a device for air flight. They knew of the engine, but they had to create something completely new that would allow the engine to propose this vehicle into the air. Something that could be light, but could be durable for every flight and landing. Now I would like to talk about how infinite intelligence always seeks to make these ideas come into fruition throughout space and time into what we call the eternal community. The eternal community is that realm or reality that we all share, you and I, objects, time and space. And it is composed of that, pretty much, of living beings, as you and I, animals, everything that is alive and moves. Inanimate, time and space. Space as the environment you find yourself in, and a combination of all of these ones will also lead to events, which we take into consideration in the eternal community. It is eternal because this community shares time and space too. It means that Dr. Seebeck is part of the eternal community. Of course, through history we know of his discovery. Yet his discovery transcended his own life, and through time and space we received his idea, his action, in a way that we can produce more. And these concepts coming from that root will develop into their own new ideas and new fruition in the future. We're relating this to infinite intelligence, which as well has access to this eternal community to make sure that these things are always used with a nature of generosity and kindness. This takes us back to the beginning to close the loop. A good example can be that of the pen, or in this case the marker. This was the product of imagination to create a tool that will allow us to express ourselves in many ways, which can be used in negative and positive ways. You can use it to create information which is valuable, or create perhaps hate speeches which are negative and destructive. From the beginning of our species, we may have used just blood or other substances, but eventually we developed the need for this specific tool. Again, trying to serve a generous and kind nature. Its purpose fulfills that eventually, because everyone that seeks to use imagination or the ideas from infinite intelligence in a negative orientation will always find demise and failure. And those who use them in a positive way will find progress and prosperity. Infinite intelligence always will reward those who focus on their action, which is the nature of the purpose, on a generous and kind nature. As you may already see, or perhaps through your senses, this is through seeing, through hearing, feeling, smelling, and tasting, all sorts of uses of the negative and positive faculty of imagination. Think of the music you love, or perhaps the art that you love to observe. Maybe the food you like to taste, and perhaps the perfume you like to smell, as well as anything that could give you comfort in feeling. That serves a good purpose, or rather of this nature. But it can also be created for using it into destructive and evil manners, such as weapons of mass destruction, gas that will kill people, hate speeches, as we have discussed before, both in a way that we will listen and we will read. And all of that is through the use of imagination. Yet woe be unto those who will engage this. And a quote I have is, "Be careful and be wise, as by engaging in evil you shall all find your own demise." Lastly, to close on this subject, I would like to reinforce that infinite intelligence always seeks to find a vessel to carry into the fulfillment of those ideas. These ideas belong to you and you only when they exist in your mind. In this case, this idea belonged to Seebeck, which he used his capacity of thinking to take it, process it, and turn it into action. Had he casted it away, someone else would have taken that idea that exists in the form of energy all around, waiting for a vessel to capture it. And it will always seek a way to fulfill a generous and kind nature, because even though one may try to find a way to use it like this, infinite intelligence shall always create ideas that will use even the most negative and destructive uses of imagination into positive ones. There is always something to be learned out of every tool of evil that can be used for good. Everything is possible. But the opposite also can be true, and this is a constant battle that will continue throughout eternity. And here is when we use our capacity of reasoning and to choose into what to engage. But you may be well acquainted with what the ultimate result upon you shall be. I would like to close with an exercise that will help you develop your capacity of imagination. And this is bringing back the subject of daydreaming. Daydreaming has been seen as a negative trait in people in modern times. Can be said to be a trait of those who lack confidence, or perhaps that waste time and do not have the courage to turn things into action. Understand that daydreaming is a person that has a good capacity of imagination, or at least for the reception of infinite intelligence to give them ideas. But they are indeed lacking the kinetic energy to put them into action. Daydreaming indeed can be negative, as it often ends in ruminating patterns. When you go on your day and you keep thinking of the same problem that keeps making you feel ill and stressed, you're using it in a negative orientation. You must learn how to use it in a positive way, and the solution is by simply finding purpose that fulfills your goals and dreams. Because when you lack purpose, the use of your imagination is completely scattered. You need to learn how to use your imagination as a concentrated channel that is extremely powerful into the attainment of your purpose, of your dreams, of your goals. When this does not exist, everything will be dispersed and you will be pretty much all over the place. And negative orientated patterns have a tendency to consume the use of your imagination. And even if you use it in a positive way, it can lead for the reception of many ideas. But lacking purpose will be to try to take on hundreds of ideas at the same time, which will lead ultimately to frustration. Because as a human being, we are not good with multitasking. It's best for us and for you to practice doing one thing at a time. Focus on one purpose and use your higher faculty of imagination in a positive way that will take you there and its fulfillment. Therefore, for your exercise, it is simple. Do not suppress the use of your daydreaming. Rather, let it come. But if you detect negative thoughts in it, as in a pattern, I will ask you to either document it through journaling or to try to make the effort to cast it aside. Recognize that you are indulging in this act and rather focus your immediate attention as an antenna into what you really want, what you really like. And this purpose can be very simple. Something as thinking, what do you want to cook later today? Instead of thinking of a problem that is constantly bugging you. And you may think what kind of taste or flavor you would like it to have, or the smell. How would you enjoy doing it? If that is from your enjoyment, it can be something else, or it can be the business you're trying to build. Perhaps you're busy somewhere else and you can set your mind already into imagining how you will fulfill it, how you will bring this idea into fruition. Closing this video, once more I would like to say that all of your ideas have infinite potential energy. And only you can make them a realization. Only you can bring them into a physical realm. You have all of the capacity. You have more than enough knowledge. And if you ever like any of it, you will be given all of the tools from infinite intelligence, as long as that idea is aiming towards the desire and purpose that you have in life. Just as Dr. Seebeck did, his idea was very simple. Two pieces of metal, one lit by a candle and the other in cold water. And this is leading to possible contact with other intelligent species. Think of how great this potential energy is and how great this kinetic energy resulted in. All thanks to the use of one of our most powerful and most beautiful faculties, the higher faculty of imagination. Thank you so much for watching, and be on well.